There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Oh, what's up and welcome into episode number 52 of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined with you as always by Ryan Tyson, Mark Hall, Matt Gann, Patrick Hertzberger. Today is Thursday, January 5th. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, trying to hit 1,500 subs. It'd be amazing if you can like and subscribe. It costs you literally $0, and it helps us out more than you know. You can follow us on Twitter at Program Guys with a Z, our Instagram, Program Guys with a Z, our Facebook page, Program Guys Podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, that's where you can find us. Boys, this is the 1 year episode of the Program Guys podcast. For those who don't know, when we started this up, I distinctly remember texting you guys, my New Year's resolution in 2021 was to start a podcast. And immediately everybody was all in. And here we are.
We had to.
And we're still here. It's been a
fun ride.
We're still here, baby.
Mean
all
business,
five of
boys.
Us, my goodness.
I know, all five.
It's a century that we've all made it.
I can't believe we haven't kicked Matt out yet. To be quite frank.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'll start with the century that WaGanns has been a good segment. But it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm still here and then business is still booming, boys. Let's get it.
Yeah. Matt, if you're watching on our YouTube channel right now, dressed to the nines, got a nice watch on, nice timepiece.
Don't worry. Those are sunglasses.
Yeah.
And he is in his room.
Yeah.
That's right.
I thought it'd be fun, guys, to start this episode off. We're 1 year into the program, guys, and thank you all for watching. If you're listening right now, you're part of the program. You're part of this ride. We appreciate you so much. 1 year mark. What do you remember most? Our first year in production. What do you remember most? Ryan, we'll start with you, brother.
Okay, so I put one down here because I was last to put on the list, but I actually have two, so I'm gonna cheat.
Shocker!
I'm gonna smuggle one in.
Double barrel.
I'm gonna smuggle one in, which is very, very on brand for me.
Yeah.
The first one that I thought of was hitting 1,000 subs because that was really awesome, and we made like a really cool Trevor made a really cool graph for it a diagram for it, and it just was a really cool milestone moment, and I can't wait to have more of those in the future.
Mm-hmm.
One that if you told us we were gonna hit when we before we started, we're gonna hit 1,000 when we do, I'd have been surprised.
Right.
And guys, I know 1,000, some people might be like, oh, 1,000, that's not very much, all that kind of stuff. But hey, we're just five dudes talking about OU football and OU sports from Oklahoma and Texas, not doing this for a full-time job, anything like that. I find this pretty successful and I'm happy about it. So that's number one. Number two really just came right into my mind was Patrick watching Drive My Car, the 3-hour Japanese movie.
That no one showed up to the live for.
No one showed up to the live.
I did that. So, all right, I'm getting this whole thing and we don't show up.
Patrick lost our...
We never talked about it. I had a long...
we never talked about it.
I had a very long text written out about how upset I was at you guys for not coming to support me. And I deleted it, and I woke up the next day totally fine because it wasn't worth it.
That's good advice for anyone, actually. That's good advice for anyone.
It wouldn't have changed anything. It wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah. Those are great memories. By the way, we'll have more punishments as the next year rolls on, because those were fun, even though Patrick's the only one who had to do them. I thought it was a good time. All right, Matt, what do you got, brother?
Yeah, I had to go with my arch nemesis, Mark Hall, in this one, and our one and only battle of the pod that we did, which was the Thunder versus Rockets debate of who's going to be better over the next 5 years. I would just want to say right now, the Thunder are definitely winning that battle. The Rockets are the last in the conference. The Thunder just beat the best team in the league, 150 to 116. Sorry, Mace. It's one game.
They beat the hell out of them.
Without their best player, SGA, he did not play in last night's game. There was 5 Thunder players that had 20-plus points. That's only happened one other time in the league. and that was back in 2020, which you know who
was
it is.
Was the Thunder winning last night your moment,
face.
or was
no, it was the moment between
the
debate of me losing the battle, but my
point you were
pissed. Is so true. The Thunder will be so much better off. They're already proving it. That was my favorite moment, proving Mark wrong. Thank you, Mark, for being part of it. Good luck, man.
All right, Mark, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, nothing's been proven wrong. I think that my mic is a little off tonight, so
it's a little wonky.
I'm sorry,
it's
guys.
Okay.
Trying to figure it out, but yeah, I wasn't proven wrong in any kind of way. 5 years, that's a long time, and I'm willing to play that long game. Anyway, my favorite moments were being invited along with you, Mason, to interview Aaron Miller and Dari Noka. The times that we did that. I have a 14-year-old niece who is just a diehard OU softball fan, and I don't have a lot of other stuff that I can still like talk to her about. But when I told her that I interviewed an OU softball player, she lit up in a way that I don't get anymore. So that was a lot of fun. And I mean, it's really just all of us riding Mason's professional coattails a little bit on that one, but it's been a blast for me, and just seeing sort of the platform we've been able to build and what we've been able to do with it there has been a lot of fun for me.
It's been awesome. Patrick, what do you got, man?
Yeah, that's my overall thing, Mark. When we got the sponsorship with the Fan Stop, Hype Shoes, thank you to our partners throughout this whole year as well. That's what kind of made this real for me, too. I knew that we'd still be here, but I didn't know we'd have over 1,000 followers. So just overall, that was like my favorite part of this in general. My favorite point in time, though, is calling the first touchdown of the year correctly with Dylan Gabriel running it in. I can't get over that.
You're such an ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. I went for a over
there. Mine was, we've known Matt Gann for a long time. A long, long time. And us finding out live on the air that Matt is like a lifelong tennis player. And none of us had any idea. Just goes to show the enigma of a man that Matt Gann is. I don't know him. I just really don't. And it's hilarious.
No one does. He's a man of mystery.
It's kind of wild. Ryan had one more honorable mention.
Yeah. Shout out to Mark for the Blazing Wing Challenge. You rocked it, man. What an amazing experience, and what an amazing experience to be there with you for, because
it wasn't really fun. I can't say that at all.
All of the challenges were good content.
Mark lost the Masters challenge. Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
The golf one?
Yeah.
So I had to carry my golf
bag
into the B-dubs and get the Blazing Wing Challenge. It was fun to do. I mean, like, we should definitely do more stuff like that.
We should
punish one of the guys, Matt.
Yeah, just punish
one of the Matts.
It's perfect. Let us know down below in the comments if you've been watching along with us for this past year. What's one of your favorite moments from the pod? Can be from a post-game pod, regular episode, whatever it is, maybe an interview, whatever it is. Let us know down below in the comments. We love reading all of those. All right.
Okie Trades. I know you have one.
Okie Trades, man. I know you got one. Okie Trades has been a day one. It's been like our parents and Okie Trades. And it's shout out to the boy. Yeah. He doesn't like us all the time, but he likes us enough to watch every week. So I appreciate it. Okay, some OU football news, boys. Let's get to some OU football news real quick. Matt and Pat get a second to chat about the bowl game. What is that about? Oh, because you were in the post game.
We were on the post game pod.
Yeah, so okay, my bad. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, I was really angry even up until today about the whole game, and I went back and I watched it back a bit today, and I'm less angry. But we can't play through 4 quarters.
No,
we have a great first quarter, and we just can't play through 4. And there's bad luck every game somewhere as well, and there's just the small mistakes and lack of execution. I hope next year's better. But that game about summed up our season and what's wrong with this team.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we lost 5 games within 3 points the whole season. So it really did sum up that we were very close in all of them. We could have easily been 10-6, maybe 11-6, but if they got 1 score possession either way. I was just more impressed by, even with all the opt-outs, people going to the draft, that BB got his team ready for who was going to play in that game and really showed out. I really just think, even with the loss, momentum to be carried forward into the new year with Team 129. I'm really impressed by just the way the team came out and played, and hopefully that will carry over next season. So we'll see what happens.
But anything to add on that, Mark or Ryan? I mean, we touched on the post game, but just want to give you guys a chance if you wanted to.
No, nothing.
Cool.
Patrick makes a good point that we can't play 4 quarters. We just could not string along games. That's just part of the things that we dealt with.
Yeah.
When the going get tough, the tough get going, and the weak break, and that's just kind of the way it was.
Still extremely positive about the future, though, I think.
For sure. And by the way, folks, if you're listening to this pod right now, we have an interview coming up in a little bit that we talked to Parker Thune of 24/7 Sports. He talks a lot about the future. He was at the Under Armour All-American game this week and was at practice and at the game itself. So he talked about Jackson Arnold, PG Atabare, Caden Green, all those guys that he saw in practice. There were 7 total, could have been 8, but who I think it was one linebacker.
Derek LeBlanc.
Yeah. Derek LeBlanc couldn't be there because he started practicing during the bowl game with OU. But Parker was great. Stick around for that. Really good 25-minute interview coming for the people. But that's a good segue. Yeah, Mark.
Did I get the mic?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Bang.
Live on air technical
solutions.
We got through it.
Yeah, we did.
Technical problem
for
solving.
making that choice though to come and practice
boys instead of
he lost it again.
We lost your mic.
I can hear you, but
heck.
Okay, but
microphone problem. But good on Derek LeBlanc for practicing with the big boys instead of high schoolers.
Yeah. Shout out to him. Under Armour All-American game in Orlando. Let's talk a little bit about it. Some OU guys who played well. Jackson Arnold, 12 of 23, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. For the speed team. I think that's what they were. I don't really know. I thought he had a good game, but man, PG Atabare is a man, and so is Caden Green.
Yeah.
Those guys overmatched whoever they were up with all night long, and that was cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't think Jackson played that great. Like he threw he was 50% accuracy.
I think the offensive lines for both sides really struggled.
Yeah.
And that affected Jackson a lot, I think.
There's a couple ones because I believe Caden Green was on his O-line, right, for speed team. And you would watch the O-line collapse in except for Caden Green, who was pancaking people. It was fantastic. So super excited about him, super excited about at PJ too. I thought PJ looked fantastic.
Also, Jackson Arnold was the leading rusher for his team, 5 rushes, 50 yards.
Yeah, that's what I was about to mention.
Go ahead. Sorry,
Jackson Arnold on the ground is what I'm so excited for. Just really that dual threat type of quarterback. I know DG does bring that to the table sometimes, but Jackson, I feel, is it's going to have more of a Baker-esque to him with his rushing capabilities.
Yeah. Lewis Carter tied for the team lead on his in tackles, 5 tackles total. So good for Lewis Carter. He looked very good as well. He looks like a guy who can move around really well. Matt, you see anything on the highlights that you thought, or maybe you watched it live? I don't know.
Not in particular. I just think, like you already said, Caden Green and PJ, I mean, they're men amongst the boys out there, and they are going to do so well with Bill Beatonbow, his system, as well as Todd Bates on the defensive line. I really just can't wait to get both of these guys on here. I know we have a couple other offensive linemen coming in as well, so it'd be exciting to see if we can get back to having a better offensive line, better in the trenches. I think these 2 guys will definitely get us started in the right direction.
Mark?
PJ, he is physically dominant on the field with a bunch of other 4- and 5-star athletes. I think they're going to have a very hard time keeping him off the field early with the guys that we have in that defensive end room. I think Miguel Chavis is going to be hard-pressed to not start him. Maybe not day 1, but by mid-season, I think that's what we're going to be looking at.
Great points. Like we said earlier, stay around for our Parker interview. Parker's going to talk all about that 2023 class and what he saw during the entire week in Orlando. Some an interesting tidbit about Jackson Arnold v. Arch Manning that I think OU fans would like to hear. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that as well. Some transfer news for the Sooners. We got punter Luke Elzinga. He's transferring from Central Michigan to the Sooners. He's a punter. That's for certain.
Hey, we need a Turk replacement, man.
I know.
He was our MVP in a couple games this year. So
He was for sure. Patrick.
we need somebody.
It makes me feel like we're really thinking of everything and looking at everything. I mean, you can go find kickers really wherever, but we were like, hey, who's the best one in the country to come to OU right now? And we picked this guy. Or like one of the best, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I love seeing it.
Well, and we have 2 guys on the roster already. Yeah, look who got his mic back. And
I think Pat's mic is messed up now too.
Technical difficulties.
I know, man.
On our year anniversary.
I was about to say, we've been good for 99 episodes. We were due one.
Yeah.
So, we got 2 guys on the roster. We need a Turk replacement. Good pickup.
Matt, anything on the front?
Turk was also a transfer, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
State, so
Arizona State.
at least we're doing something right in the transfer portal. It's always good to have a good punter on the team.
Yep, that's a good segue because speaking of the transfer portal, Devon Sears, I think it's Devon Sears. He's a defensive lineman from Texas State. He's 6'2", 290, redshirt junior. He has Oklahoma in his top 3 as a transfer destination. I do want to say he has Tennessee and also Pennsylvania, which he meant to say Penn State, but he had Pennsylvania in his graphics.
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah, tough look, but he's down to those 3.
He's not here to play school. He's here to play ball.
Yeah, I get that. He was an unranked prospect out of high school, so to be on OU's radar and even Tennessee and Penn State's radar right now it shows just how much he's improved in a short amount of time. So I'd love to have him. Why wouldn't you? I mean, more depth is always needed, especially on the front 7. So yeah, why not? Why not?
I just need to know how Patrick feels about if he's going to go to OU or Tennessee.
Yeah, our
and
resident
where
Tennessee
your
insider.
allegiances.
We gotta get this guy in. I think we
Get
need-
in.
Get him where?
Who's we?
You're not answering the question.
Yeah, we gotta get him in. We gotta get him for Brent Venables. Not Josh.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know why that was so hard, man. Like,
You guys were making. I mean,
sometimes, man.
I meant us by we, like the
Uh-huh.
program.
Still
Okay.
difficult.
Classic.
Mason, you had a good point, though. It'd be a good ad, especially with Isaiah Coe coming back. I think he was probably our more consistent D lineman playing last year, as well as Jacob Lacey coming in from Notre Dame. So, like you said, more depth and another segue for you, Mason.
Yeah, exactly. Matt's killing the segue game as well. Staying put in Norman, Isaiah Coe on the defensive line, and Woodi Washington in the defensive backfield. He's going to stay put as well.
That's huge.
I think Woodi is massive for especially all those young guys coming in to see what it means to like be a college athlete and work like the way Woodi is needing to work and show them what it takes to be at that level, because he'll be the starting corner next year. He'll be one of them for sure, because he'll be good enough. But I'm glad they're both coming back for sure.
Yeah, Woody's a sure thing to be a starter. I feel like you just put him
Yeah.
in, and then whoever shows you the most out of all of the young guys, and Jaden Davis can still come back. CJ Colton apparently can still come back.
We can.
Yeah.
So a lot of things still up in the air on that. I don't really expect us to be very active in the portal at the corner position. I think they're going to let these guys that are now sophomores compete for a spot. And I love that. Love to see that. So kind of got off topic there, but Woody is automatic on one side. I think that's fantastic. And Isaiah Coe is, like Matt said, depth.
Baker can't.
I mean, hey, Pat.
Hey, Pat, you're not on mute.
Oh, shit.
The 100th
We're
episode.
falling apart, man.
This is like our year
been
anniversary, and it's
Yeah.
just
Oh, man. Yeah, it's on me.
Anyway, Isaiah Coe, I mean, obviously he sees what Todd Bates is cooking with, and he wants to be in that kitchen. So I think it's an important thing that we're able to keep our old guys around rather than having them jump ship, a la Neville Gallimore, a la Perrion Winfrey, a la Isaiah Thomas. You know, all these guys who got out instead of sticking around for development, they weren't getting developed, and now they are.
Yeah. Matt or Ryan.
Yeah, I just not like changing the subject or anything, but speaking of like staying put in Norman, who are the people we don't know about yet? It's Dylan, Marvin, CJ. Is there anyone else that I'm missing?
I think Agwebu technically could come back.
Agwebu, okay, technically, but he hasn't said anything.
Yeah,
so.
I saw a really good tweet about it the other day, but I have not been able to find
I think
it.
those four were like on the top of my brain. So just didn't know if we had anybody else that we were looking out for.
It's just weird to me that Dylan hasn't said anything. Like, even Marvin Mims made a post saying, like, thanks for everything this season. Dylan's just been quiet.
I have no idea, man.
The Marvin one is a little weird, right? Like, that post is a little weird, right?
I think so.
It seems like he was saying goodbye from the post.
A little bit.
That's how I read it.
And that's all right. I mean, you know, he's been quiet this whole time, so maybe that's what it is.
I don't know.
I hope
Matt, do you have anything?
No, I'm excited Woody's coming back. I think he's locked down, especially with the transfers coming in. Let some of the young guys play, but having one guy at least that has had experience in Woodi Washington and Isaiah Coe, it's great to see they're coming back for another year. So we'll have to see what happens with Marvin and DG. I'm more focused on needing DG come back versus Marvin. If Marvin thinks he can get a good round draft pick, go for it. But I think we need DG in the stability for next year for sure. He's the most important piece right now.
Yeah.
At the same time, if I'm Dylan Gabriel, man, I'm looking at what this school did to Spencer Rattler when they had a 5-star quarterback waiting in the wings. And
5-star freshman.
I don't know.
Man.
Sure. But the stands are not different. I'm not saying Lebby and his relationship with Dylan, like, I get all that, but that student section's not fair to quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And let's say Dylan,
that's a good point.
You know, let's say we're losing a game and it's because the offense can't get going. You're going to hear calls for Jackson Arnold. We have been heralding him for a year straight now.
Yeah, Mark, that's a great segue. We actually talk about that in the interview. So with Parker Thune, so he gives us some really good inside depth if DG came back, what that would ultimately look like, and what the difference would be. So great segue.
Yeah, great segue. Real quick. Braden Willis, Deshaun White.
What the hell is happening with Matt?
I know he's a pro. He's a pro's pro.
Yeah, he's a professional. He's gonna get
he put on a suit,
business.
and it's no bullshit game today.
It's so Braden Willis, Deshaun White. A salute to the boys who are declaring for the NFL draft. Love Braden Willis. I thought he had a solid season. Deshaun White was all over the field all the time. Played well in the cheetah position for the most part. So I wish them nothing but the best. You know, they gave what they needed to give to the program, and I support that. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, just real fast. I think we had a Pat's hot take for this episode and we dropped it. So we're going to do Mark's hot take real fast.
Mark was the one who asked to drop Pat's hot take, right?
Well, no, his take was absurd. It's absurd. He wants to do it sometime.
Look, he's got the hat ready.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Did we get the season that we thought we were going to get out of Braden Willis?
No. I was about to say he should stay another year.
I don't know about that. I mean, it might just be time. Right? I don't know. But if he announced something, I guess he could. But neither here nor there. He did announce. He's a physical monster. He's gigantic. He runs a 4.5 40. Why is he not getting 6 catches for 130 yards every time? Why is he not closer to Brock Bowers? Right?
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Seems like we had to scheme up a lot for Braden. And in the NFL, that's going to be fine. He's going to be a rock star. But I feel like we could have made him more of a focal point.
I get that. All right. Comment of the week time. We're going to bring it back and we're going to be better about it. Comment of the week. Patrick has our comment of the week this week. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment on the video while you're watching along with us. We read every single one of them. Pat, what you got, brother?
Does anyone have a different one? Because I know I sent this earlier.
Yours is so mean.
I know. I actually feel like bad, or not bad, but I don't know if you should do it.
I didn't even know you said this. I put you on the spot. Guys,
No,
what are we doing?
We're so unprepared.
We're so unprepared and so unorganized.
Well,
I
no,
have
Patrick
it.
sent it. He's got it. I just
got
think it's
it.
kind of a mean one to go with.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, just
go
go
with
with
it.
it. We've already said it now.
We'll go
Like,
with
go.
Read
Say
it, Pat. Read
All right.
it. It's also long.
This is about Jaron Kanak. Kanak was a complete waste this season. They needlessly burned his red shirt, playing him in more than 4 games in a mostly special teams role that did not prepare him for his position. He hasn't learned the position according to Venables, and it has already been one entire season. Does Venables have something against Kanak because he didn't commit, or because he didn't honor his commitment to Clemson and followed him to OU? I don't think that's true at all. What a great comment
Out there.
Can he not learn his position? Question mark. He can learn it. He's getting there. He can't learn his position if you don't play him. That's true. And is he even giving Kanak adequate reps and practices? He most likely is. So yeah, I don't know. We talk all the time that
Who
we
was
want
that?
more JK7.
Say their name.
Say who? What name?
Who made the comment?
Oh,
That's the whole
That's
point of
Tia.
the comment of the week. So we say their name on air.
yeah. Best Tiat. Thank you for the comment of the week.
Okay.
It's
That's
incredible.
That's our comment of the week. They are upset with the staff and Jaron Kanak. So yeah, let us know how you're feeling about that. Mark, what'd you say?
I just think that's like kind of short-sighted. We aren't a team that's going to just throw talented freshmen on the field and watch them go now. They're going to develop these guys. Brent wants guys that are going to be sticking around, riding the bench a little bit, and then starting as sophomores, juniors, seniors before going for the draft. It's not just, hey, get the guys with the most stars on the field. And I think it's been that a little bit in the past. And maybe we got to get a little used to seeing our talented guys ride the pine a little bit before they're able to get real reps.
What was our biggest problem with the Alex Grinch way of doing things? And Lincoln Riley, these guys didn't develop.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't develop. So what were they doing with Jaron Kanak? They're allowing him to develop instead of throwing him in the deep end on day one and expecting him to be the guy and not make any mistakes. And Brent and his staff knows that's not how young players work. It's just not. No matter how physically gifted they are, mentally, it takes some time to understand the college game, the speed of things, no matter how physically gifted they are. They need time to develop. Patrick, mute your mic when you're talking to your dog.
It's every time.
I did.
No, you
No,
didn't.
we
No,
heard
you
you.
didn't.
We just heard you just now.
There must be a lag on the mute button.
All
Look,
right.
I thought this segment went really well.
Okay.
Mason, to your point real fast, it's there's something to the idea that a guy needs to play to develop, but I'm going to trust Brent Venables over commenter of the week, Bastiat. This one, you know, when it comes to YouTube comments, inflammatory ones, our guy takes the cake.
He does. He does.
But Brent's got linebackers.
And I think,
go ahead.
Just jumping in here, like this was the year that we weren't going to see the development, right? Because it wasn't Brent's guys yet. Like Kanak is a perfect example of a guy that's Brent's dude that maybe even next year as a sophomore, he sees more playing time or he's a starter or whatever it might be. And like now that we've got his group of guys starting to come in here with 23, 24, 25, so on and so forth, like we're going to be able to see that development, I think, a little bit better. And it's just going to be, I feel like this year was kind of unique with the break that we had in between switching coaching staffs.
Yeah.
And it'll be a little easier as we go. So
that's all great points. All great points. Thank you for commenting on our video and commenting every single week. We really appreciate it. Matt is the one who got us the interview with Parker Thune. So Matt, introduce our interview with Parker. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. This will be a great interview to get some insight on this upcoming season Team 129. Parker does a really great job. Hope you guys take a listen and get some good information.
3, 2, 1.
We now welcome on Parker Thune of 24/7 Sports. Is it 24/7 or 247, Parker?
Oh, man, that's an interesting question because even people within the network will say both. There is no clear answer as to whether it is 247 or 24/7. I've found myself saying both. You will find people employed by the network that will refer to their employer as 24/7 Sports or as 247 Sports or both. So it's literally whatever you want it to be.
Okay. Well, also, he's with the Ref in the Ref Radio Network. Host there as well. Thank you for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. He's in Orlando right now at the Under Armour All-American game, kicking off later this afternoon on Tuesday afternoon, I should say. So, Parker, what's the experience been like down there? You've seen the practices leading up. I've seen you tweet some videos and stuff. Jackson Arnold, I think there's 7 total guys in the 2023 class down there right now, and by all accounts, they seem to be tearing it up.
That by all means. And there would have been 8 had it not been for Derek LeBlanc, who elected to practice for Oklahoma leading up to the bowl game rather than participate in the All-American game. But Jackson Arnold is making a very, very strong case for the number 1 overall player, for the title of number 1 overall player in the 2023 class. There's one more rankings update that will come. And if Arnold turns in a dynamic performance at the actual game this afternoon, he's going to be very, very tough to deny. Now, that said, you do have the arch factor, and ESPN is really the only service that has that. I call it the arch conspiracy because there are a million different reasons why I disagree with Arch Manning being number 1 overall. It's not that I don't think he's good. It's just that I think with the way that he hasn't put himself out there against elite competition, no Elite 11, no 7-on-7, no All-American game or All-American Bowl, really all you have to evaluate the kid off is the name on the back of his jersey and the tape. So if you looked at the tape against 2A high school competition in Louisiana, right, and you were evaluating based off of that and his name was anything other than Manning, you look at the tape and say, okay, arm talent's impressive. The frame's good. He has good control in the pocket. He's in command, but there's only so much we can reasonably project about the kid, seeing as how he hasn't gone up against competition that is on his level. And so I am very much of the opinion that if Arch Manning's name was anything other than Manning, he would be a top 150, maybe top 200 prospect, but that would be about the ceiling for him. And so I think what Jackson Arnold has done over the course of the past year is undeniably impressive in that he's continually put himself out there against the best of the best. And in every setting, in every circumstance, he has dominated. You go back to the Elite 11. He was not expected to win that thing. He showed up and won it running away. He's been easily the most impressive quarterback here at the All-American game. He racked up 57 total touchdowns, I believe 33 through the air and 24 more on the ground as a senior in the 6A circuit in the state of Texas, which is one of the more difficult classifications and one of the more talent-dense states in the entire country. And so at what point does the body of work become too much to ignore? And that's why I think a lot of the conversation in the aftermath of this weekend's game, not just this one, but the All-American Bowl in San Antonio as well, where we're going to get to see plenty of other Sooner commits / signees and other elite prospects from across the country in the 2023 class go head-to-head. I think a lot of the conversation coming out of this coming weekend is going to be, how do we not elevate Jackson Arnold to number 1? Because he's just been so undeniably impressive. And the other big standout for Oklahoma here in Orlando has been PJ Adebawore. I mean, the kid has been untouchable. He's gone up against offensive linemen that are 4 and in some cases 5-star prospects. I would refer you to 2 specific reps that he took against Miles McVay and Olasa Linnan, both of whom are committed to Alabama. Just absolutely torched both of them with 2 very different techniques. He goes up against McVay, he just speed rushes him, goes right around him effortlessly. And then going up against a Linnan, he just essentially grabs him by the shoulder pads and walks him backwards. Man, he is both incredibly fast and incredibly strong off the edge. And what's most encouraging is right now he's only about 230 pounds. He's a guy where if you evaluated him based on his strength and his power, you would liken him to somebody that's playing the position at 275, 280, right? He and DJ Hicks are very much cut from the same cloth in that regard. They are much stronger than their frame should reasonably permit right now. So he's at about 230 pounds this weekend in Orlando, which means by the time he steps on the field this fall, you can bet Schmidt will have him in the neighborhood of 245, 250. And if that's the case, to borrow a phrase that Brent Venables has used in reference to a couple of his defensive ends over the past few months, he is going to be hell on wheels and is going to be in the mix without question to play right off the bat, even if only in a rotational role.
Yeah, I think Sooner fans really want to know, especially going back to Jackson Arnold, all the hype around him being a 5-star first quarterback for Jeff Lebby. Does he have the potential to take on the starting role for the Sooners in the first year? We haven't heard from Dylan Gabriel yet, if he's going to come back or not, or what his plans are. But does Jackson Arnold have what it takes to potentially be a true freshman starting quarterback for the Sooners next season?
Does he have what it takes? Yes. Would that be my expectation? No, because I don't think the Sooners are going to want to rush Jackson Arnold along, if at all possible. And the way I look at this is what are the reasonable expectations for Oklahoma heading into 2023? I figure most coming off a 6 and 7 season would say if Oklahoma can win 9-10 games, that's sufficient for year 2 under Brent Venables. Now, you think back to the Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams dynamic, and I do see some parallels there because obviously I don't think it's a secret to anybody that much as Caleb Williams was much more physically gifted than Spencer Rattler in all areas of playing the position of quarterback, Jackson Arnold is leaps and bounds ahead of Dylan Gabriel in that capacity. But what Dylan Gabriel has is the advantage of having started for 4 years at the collegiate level. So the experience, the comfort factor within the offense is going to be far superior for Gabriel than it is for Arnold. So the difference between what these two are walking into heading into 2023 and what Williams and Rattler were walking into in 2021 is that in 2021, the expectation nationally was that Oklahoma was going to play for and potentially win a national championship. So there was almost an increased sense of urgency to get it done in 2021. And the margin for error was razor thin for everybody, not just Spencer Rattler, because it was championship or bust. That was the mentality. And so it wasn't terribly shocking when after a few weeks of milquetoast play from Spencer Rattler, the Sooners go down big in the Cotton Bowl and Lincoln Riley pulls the wonderkin freshman off the bench, and lo and behold, Caleb Williams leads them to a comeback victory and possibly the most memorable Red River showdown of all time. In 2023, I think Dylan Gabriel will have more of a margin for error than Spencer Rattler did, simply by virtue of the fact that I don't feel as though Brent Venables is going to feel the crunch. He's not going to feel the immediate need to switch quarterbacks if things start to go awry for Oklahoma. And I don't think things are going to go awry nearly to the extent that they did in 2022. Obviously, that was, especially when you look at the TCU and Texas games, like that's just, it's very obviously a blip on the radar, not something that's going to become the norm at Oklahoma. But if the Sooners lose a couple games over the course of conference play, I don't think it's going to be cause for Brent Venables to tear it all down and throw the freshman in Jackson Arnold. And so what I am really encouraged to see is that all 7 of these guys appear to have really strong relationships with one another. I'm sure you saw the picture that circulated on social media, all 7 of them throwing the horns down. And there will be players among this recruiting class that will be difficult to keep off the field in year 1. Jackson Arnold's going to be difficult to keep off the field. PJ Adebawore and Peyton Bowen, it's going to be impossible to keep those two off the field. But I think when you are mindful of where you want these guys to be 2-3 years down the road, not just next year in 2023, as soon as they're in a Sooner uniform, you don't want to rush them along. And obviously, if they're ready to go right off the bat and they prove they're capable of stewarding rotational duty adequately, then by all means, throw them into the fire. But you don't want to put a guy into a situation that he's not ready for. And so I believe, especially having watched these guys over the course of the week, at the All-American game practices and paying attention to the chemistry that Arnold and Jaquays Petaway have in particular. It's a really cool dynamic to see. But just seeing where so many of them are developmentally, where they're ahead of the curve, and yet they're going to get to campus at Oklahoma and they're not going to have to be rushed into the fray because of who Oklahoma already has on the roster and who they plan to bring in via the transfer portal. I'm not necessarily sure that I would count on Jackson Arnold seeing the field in a substantial capacity in year one. And I would say the same about many, if not all, of the incoming signees in the 2023 class. And that's not a referendum on their talent level, because Jackson Arnold's a guy that's probably going to be in New York City for the Heisman ceremony one day. But again, you just don't want to rush a guy into a situation that he's not 100% ready for and comfortable with.
So, sorry, this class as a whole, 24/7 has them as the 6th ranked overall class. Can you talk about just kind of, and I think there were 23 commits prior to signing day, and all 23 of those guys ended up signing, and you add 2 more in Peyton Bowen and one other.
Marcus Strong.
Thank you. Yes. So just talk about the job that Brent Venables and his staff did after a 6-7 season, like we saw, and just struggling throughout the year, and seeing the talent level of this team, for this staff to have these guys committed and stay committed. How difficult of a job is that?
Well, I think it speaks to recruiting the right people, not just the right players, right? And this is something we've harped on over the course of the recruiting process, dating back to last January, February, when the commits started rolling in the 23 class under Venables and the new staff. When you have guys that are bought into the vision, and you have guys that are bought into the direction of a program, they're not going to be alarmed when the going gets rough and things get rocky. And the Sooners did have a couple of decommits down the stretch. They lost Anthony Evans. They obviously lost Colton Vasek. All things considered, those were, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat it here, but those were probably the 2 most understandable decommitments that you could have had, because Anthony Evans' family was a whole bunch of Georgia fans, Georgia alumni, and obviously Colton Vasek was right down the road from the University of Texas, a Longhorn legacy. Those 2 hurt, but they made sense, right? You understood why. Even if you didn't like it, you understood why. And I think the ability to keep everybody else in the boat, despite a 6-7 campaign, and knowing what we know about the way that Oklahoma recruits, right? And you guys can kind of read between the lines here, but Oklahoma is not recruiting the way that Texas A&M is recruiting. They're not recruiting the way that Miami's recruiting, right? It's not as if there's an extenuating circumstance this 6-7 season. You're like, oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense why all these guys are still locked in with OU. No, the reason all these guys stayed locked in with OU is because Brent Venables and his assistants were able to identify players that not only rose up the rankings steadily over the course of the past year, i.e. PJ Adebawore, Samuel Masigo, even lower down guys like Logan Howland and Heath Ozida, the offensive tackles, guys that steadily continued to climb and climb and climb up the composite rankings. Not only did they identify players that, especially in hindsight, we can look at and say, yeah, those were pretty good evals, but they identified people, and I think PJ and Jackson as your they're not the only 2 5-stars anymore, because you got Peyton in the fold, but as the 2 5-stars that were sitting atop the class for, PJ committed in July. So for the last 4 or 5 months of the recruiting cycle, those 2 were kind of your crown jewels, one on offense, one on defense. But they're such phenomenal examples of the type of people that Venables and his staff have prioritized on the recruiting trail, because Jackson Arnold never wavered. Trust me, he had schools that tried to flip him. He had offers come in that he never announced, even after he committed to Oklahoma. He had a lot of compelling opportunities to look elsewhere, and he never even gave those schools the time of day. He was 100% locked in with Oklahoma from the time that he committed in late January. And meanwhile, I remember all the fuss about PJ, I think in November, when Ohio State started to heat up on him. And people were freaking out saying, oh, Oklahoma, they just coming off the West Virginia loss, obviously. How's Oklahoma possibly going to hold on to a 5-star edge rusher when they just lost Colton Vasek and they just lost to West Virginia, a school that they never lost to in Big 12 play? And I remember being on the phone with PJ, and he was just like, I remember letting him know that there was a lot of buzz about him in Ohio State and the potential of him opening things back up. And I said, dude, is any of this remotely legit? He said, oh man, I wouldn't have committed if I wasn't completely sold on Oklahoma. And yeah, they're struggling right now, but what can I do about it? I'm not in that locker room. I'm not in uniform there. But when I am, that's when I'll have the opportunity to make change. I can go in next year and be a freshman All-American, and we'll turn things around. And so I think seeing as how that was the message from your two top commits for the longest time until Peyton Bowen jumped in at the very tail end of the early signing period, that really helped set the tone for the remainder of the class. And even when guys had the opportunity and had reason to look elsewhere, maybe take a visit somewhere else or start to entertain the advances of another school. I think of a guy like Lewis Carter, who acknowledged to me and my colleague Brandon a couple of days ago that it was very, very hard for him not to take an Auburn visit circa late October, early November. But he said, look, OU was able to successfully convince me that what I had committed to was the right thing and that I needed to honor my commitment to that school. And moreover, all these guys, every single one of the 25 signees have an enormous group chat. And if there was ever a reason for one of them to look elsewhere, I can promise you the other 24 would have been all over him in that group chat, making sure that he didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see what this coaching staff has done, especially after the season we've been through. You hear the commitment. It's like, I kind of got chills a little bit when you're talking about PJ and him being committed to the team and what he's, potentially looking to do with the staff moving forward. I did want to go back to signing day because obviously we have probably one of the craziest recruitments and 5-star Peyton Bowen. Can you give us a little insight on what that day was like, what was going through his head? Because I've never seen that before. I think that's got to be one of the craziest things I've seen.
Are you having?
So love to hear.
Are you having Vietnam flashbacks, Parker?
Oh,
I
know I'm going to get asked about that recruitment for years to come. But oh man, I'm so glad it's over. And I guess we're almost 2 weeks clear of it now. My goodness, that was the biggest thorn in my side for so long. And I'm sure Brandon Drum will say the same thing. But man, in the end, it all made sense. Didn't make sense for especially the 24, 48 hours leading up to his signing with Oklahoma. But in the end, it all made sense because his heart was always at OU. The girlfriend was at OU. Jackson was at OU. He'd taken something like 15 unofficial visits to OU in 2022 to that point. And so when he committed to Oregon, I remember saying this as early as June, July, that he was not going to stick it out with Notre Dame. And there was never a time where I was worried about Notre Dame holding on to his commitment. And when he committed to Oregon, though, on National Signing Day, my first thought was, oh my goodness, this is a nightmare. Because that's really what it was. It was deja vu all over again to the David Hicks situation, right? And Sooner fans were fully expecting to get a commitment from the number one defensive lineman in America, and he pulls one over on everybody and commits to Texas A&M. And obviously, when he commits to Texas A&M, you understand, right, why Texas A&M was the pick. And with Oregon, Peyton Bowen had only ever taken one visit up there, had virtually no relationships whatsoever with anybody in that circle. And so he commits to Oregon, and everybody's first thought is, oh, well, you know what this is about, right? But in the end, it was kind of an all-time chess, not checkers move by Peyton because he had people in his camp that were very pro Notre Dame. He had people in his camp that were pro Oregon. Nobody in his camp was as pro Oklahoma as Peyton was. So I think, especially when you hear him acknowledge in media day interviews from a few days ago at the All-American game festivities that his parents essentially forced him to take Oklahoma off the table for his signing day announcement. Him picking Oregon was his way of communicating to everybody, hey, I'm going to do what I want, and you better listen to what I have to say and what my desires are for this whole process. Because I always go back to the reaction that his mom had when he pulled the Oregon hat. And if you watch the video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He picks up the Notre Dame hat, and she is bubbling over. She's trying to contain her excitement. He drops that hat. He picks up the Oregon hat, and oh my goodness, instantly her face goes from overjoyed to distraught. And in that moment, I can only imagine that what mom's thinking is, well, I wanted him to go to Notre Dame. That was my preference. But now not only is he not going to Notre Dame, he's going to a school that's 25 hours away instead of 2. And all of a sudden, it's the worst of both worlds for me as a mother. And so, again, all-time chestnut checkers move by Peyton to get everybody in his circle on board with Oklahoma.
Crazy. We'll get you out of here on this. You're obviously at the game right now, and you got a busy day ahead of you. But this class overall, anybody not named Jackson Arnold, PJ Adebawore, Peyton Bowen out of this class that you're most looking forward to, that might, I don't want to say diamond in the rough, but a guy a lot of fans may be overlooking as, hey, this guy could potentially be a dude down the line?
Yeah, I think there are several that fit that bill, and I'll try to keep it to one just because I don't want to go through the entire class. Yeah. I think a lot of these guys are really, really good at evals, to be honest. Like as I look through Oklahoma's 2022 class, and it was kind of by necessity because everything came together so late with the coaching change and the turnover and staff. But as I looked through Oklahoma's 2022 class, even in the moment back then, you could just look at some of those guys, i.e. Cedric Roberts, Alton Tarver. I'm trying to think of a couple other conspicuous examples, but you could just look at certain guys and say, they're probably never going to crack it at Oklahoma. As I look at this class top to bottom, I don't see any of that. I don't see any dead weight. I don't see any guys that don't have the legitimate potential to contribute in a big way for Oklahoma at some point in their career. I would say the guy that I would highlight, and he's a top 100 player nationally, so he's by no means under the radar, but he just doesn't get talked about a whole lot for whatever reason. Samuel Masigo, the 4-star linebacker out of Crandall, Texas. That's a guy that had Power 5 offers to play wide receiver. He had Power 5 offers to play safety. In the end, he settles on a Power 5 offer to play linebacker under Brent Venables at Oklahoma. And I think in a year or two, Omasigo is going to be a dangerous cheetah at Oklahoma because he fits that bill. He fits that mold to a T. And it's Deshaun McCullough for right now, right? We know this. And Deshaun McCullough is a guy that has the potential to be a first-round NFL draft pick by the time he's done in Norman. But once McCullough's time has come and gone, that position is Omasigo's to lose. Him and Lewis Carter will be in competition. I think what's really encouraging about having the two of those guys in that class is you don't have to pigeonhole them into a single position. Right? They don't have to be cheetahs. If one wins the job at cheetah, you can slide one of them inside alongside the likes of Jaron Kanek or potentially Phil Picciotti at that point. And you're confident in your linebacker core, and you got 3 guys that are going to fly to the ball and be very, very tough to move the ball against via the run or the pass at that level of defense. And so Sammy's also just a super, super intelligent, super outgoing, super nice kid. Just a joy to be around, somebody that I've really enjoyed getting to know and follow and cover on the recruiting trail. And I get the sense he's going to be a fan favorite. And he already has a lot of the fan base behind him for just the way that he has recruited his peers on social media. I know it didn't last in the end, but he was instrumental in getting Colton Vasek to Norman initially. He is all in on Oklahoma, always has been from the minute that he took that first campus visit and met with Venables and the new staff. He and his family were sold on OU almost immediately. And he wears that on his sleeve as much as anybody in this class. And being a small town Texas kid, he's got that it factor, right? He's gonna have that work ethic when he shows up to campus where there's never a point where he's going to get complacent. And so much as he has continued to rise and rise and rise steadily, not all at once, but just incrementally, steadily over the course of the last year or so, because he was a mid-range 3-star prospect as recently as April or May of 2022. And so much as he has continued to make that incremental rise, I think he's a guy that I look at as somebody that's going to continue to make incremental progress and just get better and better and better throughout his career as a Sooner.
Love it. Parker, the busiest man in the recruiting world, down in Orlando, ready to go to the Under Armour All-American game. Appreciate you taking the time, Parker, and good luck as well. Is your trip to San Antonio as well, right?
Yes, sir. It's going to be a busy next few days. I'm going to be honest. This trip to Orlando has already kind of taken out of me. I'm tired of eating restaurant food. I would love to have a home-cooked meal, but going to power through. It's January 3rd, the morning of the 3rd as we sit here. I'll be back in Norman for good after this whole cycle of travel on January 8th. So getting close. Well, safe travels, man. Appreciate you jumping in.
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Take care.
3, 2, 1.
Once again, thank you to Parker Thune of 247 Sports. Loved it. Loved the interview. Thank you so much. By the way, little housekeeping. Patrick's mic, he was messed up, so we're sorry for yelling at him and sorry for yelling at his dog Baker. We apologize, Patrick. We have it fixed now. Let's talk some.
Hey, real fast. Great job by you guys. I
that was
thoroughly
wonderful.
enjoyed listening to the interview. Matt Gann has a way with words that I don't think we give him enough credit for.
Agreed. 100% agree.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, 100% agree. Let us know down below in the comments what your favorite moment from the interview with Parker was. Some bowl game recaps, guys. We had some New Year's Six bowls that were played over the past few days and some college football semifinal playoff games. Let's go ahead and recap a little bit of those. Oh, by the way, all in all, Big 12 went 2 for 6 in their bowl games this year. So that's tough.
That's really bad.
Drinkies.
Not what you want, but hey, TCU's in the national championship, so there you go.
It's true.
That's something to carry the flag for. Do we have our recap of the pick'em? Does anyone have that in front of them real quick?
Yeah, so Okie Pats fans is in first place.
Okay.
With a pretty impressive 25-17 record. They're in the 97.9th percentile. It's pretty good.
Nice.
Second place is me. I'm in the 93rd percentile with 23-18 record. And in third place is Ryan J. Johnson.
Hey, RJ
Johnson.
RJ.
He's 19-23. So there's he's 67.5th percentile. So
in the red, and he's in third. How about
we were rough. It was rough.
How
it was a rough time.
So Gann is second amongst the boys with
the guys
in fourth. Yeah, the guys. And Ryan is also tied with him. Patrick's 12th and Mason is 13th. So all in all, tough look for all of us except for me.
Yeah, not ideal
for me.
Can you tell who's the pro out of us? Can you tell who's the pro?
Who's the better?
I lose so much money. All right, let's talk about some of the New Year's Six bowl games. I think the way to do this first, let's get through the college football playoff games real quick, and then we'll move down the line with some other games that I know we want to mention and talk about.
Wait, let's just do the dumb ones first, I think.
Okay.
All right.
I'm down with that.
Okay, do the dumb ones.
Pat, go ahead. Tennessee, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Again, and this whole playoff system that we're about to head into is so much better because you will see a team like Tennessee, who's better than a team like TCU, actually make it to the national championship.
What is this? Is supposed to be a recap of the game.
I'm sorry. Tennessee crushed Clemson. They played amazing. Joe Milton is going to be a dude next year. He's got probably one of the strongest arms in football, not just college and the NFL. In football, I'm very excited for them.
If there's one thing Ryan Mallett showed us, it's that arm talent matters above all. So
right,
it's going to be sick.
Right.
Yeah.
Same as Jamarcus Russell. If you can just flick that ball, it's all you need, really.
Exactly. All right, let's we gotta say USC just completely fell apart.
Like, I don't even have that here.
Oh, they absolutely fell apart. You know, when you just watch something that breaks your heart over and over and over again, and then you're told, hey, this is never going to break your heart anymore. And you're like, okay, cool. And then you see them go break their next person's heart.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, yeah, I saw that coming. Like, I've been there, brother. Yeah. I feel for the USC fans. I do, because y'all are sipping on the same Kool-Aid that we were. And newsflash, Alex Grinch is a bum. And he sucks. And he literally cannot keep any lead safe. They looked pathetic on the defensive side of the ball. Caleb Williams is obviously a Heisman winner, and he's the best player on the field no matter what field he plays on. It's hysterical to see Lincoln Riley waste talent at the quarterback position because he is totally inept at hiring a staff. It's laughable. It's so laughable.
I'm also not going to let Coach Riley off the hook on his game management either.
No, yeah.
If you know you have a bad defense,
so bad.
You make sure that defense is not on the field as much as you can. And he's going on like 7 years of having a bad defense. It was so satisfying to see that kind of a breakdown happen. And like, it's all the same characters, right? It's Lincoln, it's Caleb, it's Alex Grinch, it's Mario Williams messing them up. How fun.
Yeah.
And just, that was good, man. That was cool. It was good stuff. Go Green Wave.
I think go Green Wave. That was amazing. Awesome comeback right there at the end. But I think the sweetest part of all this was at the end during the press conference when Riley was like, hey, we're so close. We're so close. And we'll be there next year. We're so close. And then Caleb didn't show up to the press.
That's cowardly.
That was ridiculous.
That's cowardly.
Which is that is very on brand.
No, you're right.
For Riley, it's very on brand to yank his QB out of the press and just keep the press away, because it's like a sacred package. And once things starts breaking down, he doesn't know how to handle it.
He won the Heisman Trophy. Stop treating him like he's some child who can't handle an interview in a game that he played well. It's not like they're going to go in there and be like, hey, Caleb, what did you not do well enough to let your team win? No, dude, I'm the only reason that we scored that many points. It's not like they would have ripped him to shreds. Why didn't you put him out there?
You guys think that it was actually Lincoln's call? Because I read the same report or whatever and was 100% confident that it was Caleb saying, I'm not going out there.
See, that's what I think, Mark. Because he made us write a goodbye letter and tweet it out for him. So he looked good. He doesn't want to be in any negative light.
He can't handle that kind of pressure.
Either way, for me, it doesn't matter. It's cowardly if Caleb said, I don't want to do it. And it's soft if Lincoln let him do it.
I think it's
that's pathetic.
Yeah. And you might be totally right, Mark. I have no idea. But historically, Riley has not been afraid to shy away from the media and just cut them out completely.
It's a good point.
And so, I mean, maybe Caleb is learning from him. I don't know. But it's just not. I mean, you're Mace brought up a great point. You're the Heisman winner. You actually just had a fantastic game. I'm pretty sure you threw 5 touchdowns and stuff. Everyone on this earth knows that it was not your fault that USC lost that game. Everyone knows. Go out there and just be yeah, I'm upset. I'm disappointed. Max Duggan after the Big 12 championship was crying his eyes out, but he went up there and he did it. Right. And it's just it's not a great look. And I just love the fact that Riley was we're close. How many times did we hear that over the past 5 years? So many.
I know. Matt, get in there.
Between the Robert Griffin III version of Caleb that we hear that's been coached since he was a young kid with a mental coach and shit, and then the version we see that runs away from stuff like that and writes F Utah on his fingers. I'm sorry, Matt, get in there.
I just I just remember at the beginning of the year we like swore never to talk about USC and Lincoln Riley this in depth.
I know.
So
you're right.
I'm gonna give 3 fun facts and then we're gonna call it good. The first fun fact is Tulane's quarterback only had 8 completions the entire game.
Wow.
The second fun fact is Lincoln Riley has now lost 6 games when holding the lead at least 14 or more points since becoming a head coach in 2017, the most in that span. And the third fun fact, he is now 1-4 in bowl games, not including the Alamo Bowl that he bailed on. What else do I need to say? That's it.
It's hysterical. Let us know down below in the comments your favorite part of the USC debacle. It's a good time to be us, whatever. We can
I feel great.
We'll start with the TCU Michigan game in the college football playoff, guys. TCU wins that game 51-45. TCU won. I mean, they beat Michigan. They out-physicaled them. In a game that a lot of people think TCU didn't have a shot in. And that TCU offense is legit, man. They can score points with anybody. And I'll tell you what, after what Georgia showed against Ohio State last week, I'm not saying that TCU is going to win, but it might be a little closer than we thought if TCU can score like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they took the underdog mentality and they ran with it, right? They came out to a booming start.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought like the first half their defense played great. I think like the second half it let up a little bit when Michigan started to get going and it turned into kind of more of a shootout. I thought it was hilarious how like you would sit at the TV and you would see like a 75-yard touchdown by TCU and then like 4 seconds later, there would be a 78-yard touchdown by Michigan, and it just kept going back and forth.
It was a really great game. Yeah.
Both of these games that we're going to talk about, I mean, 2 of the best playoff games that we've ever seen. And just really, really entertaining. And congrats to the Horned Frogs and Sonny Dykes. I'm rooting for you guys in the championship.
Yeah. Matt, get in there.
Yeah. Over 44 points was scored in the third quarter alone. So if you weren't there, the third quarter was explosive. It was incredible. I mean, back-to-back 80-yard plus touchdowns. It was an incredible game. I think this was more of Michigan losing it more than anything because they had 3 times with inside the 1. So that's 21 points off the board. So they could have easily swept TCU on their run. But congrats to TCU and Max Duggan and his team to continue to play. Got some good defensive plays in the first quarter and the first half. It's a wild time. The hypno frog, whatever you want to believe in, let's just take it all the way to the natty, baby. So good. Congrats to them on a big win.
I personally always make sure to let you guys know when I'm right about something. So I need to also let you know that I was really wrong about TCU. And I said they lose like every game, every week.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, shout out. They're killing it right now. Max Duggan is a baller. And then in terms of Michigan, I think a departure from Harbaugh would not be bad.
Dude, they're already talking Carolina rumors. It's hysterical how we do this every year with Jim Harbaugh. Like at some point, Michigan's got to be like, do you want to be here? Because if you don't, then just go. We're not going to beg you.
And you're not winning anything anyway.
Weird.
Well, the weird thing is once they did start having success last year and this year, these are the seasons where it's like, oh, the Vikings are calling. Oh, the Panthers are calling. And
so weird.
Like, are you trying to parlay that into a bigger like contract, or are you actually just trying to like, do you have a foot out the door? Because if you have a foot out the door, I'd be pissed if I'm JJ McCarthy and those Michigan guys, because I mean, you got really punched in the mouth against TCU, but the second half of that game was a real football game.
Mm-hmm.
To TCU, I've been saying it, I think, all year. They've got the horses, and their strength and conditioning coach, whoever his name is, this is his first season there, and he's made those guys, right? Quentin Johnston was not the physical monster that he is now. He's always been big, right? But he was like big and tall and lanky. Now he's just a physical freak. Kendre Miller is an NFL back, and behind him, Amari DiMercato didn't miss a beat, right?
Mm-hmm.
The offense didn't lose anything with him. They've got some real guys, and I'm sure we'll talk about Georgia, TCU in a bit, but if the offensive line can hold up for TCU, maybe they can stand a chance against Georgia. Maybe 13.5 is a good line.
Yeah. That Ohio State Georgia game, Georgia went into the fourth quarter down 14 points and outscores Ohio State 18-3 in the final frame. Georgia going back to the national title. They will be, I'm sure they are heavy favorites once again to win the national title. I think I
half.
12 and a half.
13 and a half.
13.5 is what I've seen.
Okay. So I got 12 and a half in front of me on ESPN. I don't know who those odds are courtesy of, but I mean, give Stetson Bennett his flowers, man. He's not flashy, but dude, he's a freaking gamer, man. And I wish the best for him in his NFL career. I don't think it will be a long one, but dude, he's a college all-star, man. He's a freaking gamer, and he's fun to watch. He's kind of Baker Mayfield-esque, I feel like. Just a dude who wants to win and is going to put you on his back and carry you to a victory if that's what he needs to do. And he looked really good.
As a OU insider, I was given my first Heisman vote this year. And as you guys know, I made an impassionate case that Stetson is the Heisman winner. Like, when you look at everything that it's supposed to mean, outstanding player that leads his team to victory, that's what he's done. I understand that he's playing with a bunch of very talented guys, but it doesn't work if you don't have the hand on the wheel. And Stetson Bennett is, I mean, you're exactly right, Mason. He's their Baker Mayfield. He's their version of that. He's their Max Duggan, I guess, where it's just, he doesn't have the measurables. He doesn't have the biggest arm, but he puts the ball where it needs to be, and he makes the plays that need to be made. And I mean, 12 and a half, you're right. I just saw it, and that's at a point where I'm starting to think Georgia just makes it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone saw the post game interview, like on the field with Kirby, like right after they beat Ohio State. Kirby was basically like, "We did not play well. I don't really know how we won that game," because like after they missed that field goal, Ohio State missed that field goal at the end. He was basically like, "We shouldn't have won that game." So like that scares me for TCU going into this national championship because of how good Kirby is at preparing his people. I'm sure they have had a hell of a week of practice, and I would be scared if I was TCU, because that Georgia team that we saw against Ohio State, I do not think is peak Georgia. And I think you're probably going to see peak Georgia in the championship game.
That was the worst game Georgia's played all year.
Yeah, it was. And they still won. I was in Georgia working when Kirby Smart got hired at Georgia. And I remember how excited Georgia fans were that he got hired. And I was kind of like, oh, this is an unproven coach. Like, yeah, he was Nick Saban's assistant, but like, how many times do Nick Saban's assistants work out? Like, we'll see what happens. And man, Georgia fans are obnoxious. Do not get me wrong. They drive me nuts. But I'm happy for them that they have a dude like Kirby Smart at the helm, because that dude is full of piss and vinegar and will his team to victory and recruit his ass off. And he doesn't want to be anywhere else. He will die at Georgia if they let him. And that's cool. That's cool to see. That's the good thing about college football. People get to come home and be where they want to be, and they're going to stay there as long as the school will have them. And I think Kirby Smart's that kind of guy. Matt, anything to add?
I think give credit to CJ Stroud and Ohio State after getting blown out at home to Michigan. Not really sure if they were going to make the playoffs, ended up finding a way and playing Georgia to the very end. Did they choke a little bit in the fourth quarter? Absolutely. I think you got to give more credit to Georgia and Stetson Bennett for being an absolute baller. Ohio State was also missing one of their top receivers on the team, even though Martin Harrison Jr. is a clear guy on that team, still have probably a potential first-round draft pick that didn't even play in this game. So just would imagine they would have those three guys on the field. But give credit to Georgia continuing to play. I think they did get pretty good exposed. I think TCU will be able to watch the tape and take advantage of some of those matchups that they have, because Georgia's been predicated on defense, give up 40 plus points, over 500 plus yards to Ohio State. So the 12.5 seems a little bit disrespectful for me, especially after giving up 40 plus points. And I don't think TCU's got maybe the same caliber of offense that Ohio State does with those types of playmakers, but I think they're still going to be able to make it a lot interesting than more people think. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, because we're not going to be able to do a pod. Who we picking, and is TCU covering? Love to hear what you guys think.
I have Georgia to win. I don't think they cover, but I have Georgia to win.
I have Georgia win and covering. I think it's going to be more of a blowout.
I agree. Georgia outright.
Yeah, win and cover. I think the defensive front is too much for Georgia.
Yeah, I think we're all going to pick Georgia here, but I think TCU will make it an interesting game, just like they did with Michigan, exposing their defense. So I'm going to have TCU to cover, but end up losing.
Yeah, Max Duggan is the X factor. If Max Duggan plays like a superstar, then I think TCU's got a better chance than not. But I still don't think they win, even if Max Duggan has a game of his life. Just real quick, Texas, Washington. Steve Sarkisian's a psycho. He looks like he needs a drink too soon.
That clip,
sorry.
That was tough.
That clip, man, was so bad. Just a dude doing his job, and you start screaming at him like that.
Yeah.
Why would a parent want to send their kids to you? I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Also, just real fast, the University of Texas is the premier program in the state of Texas. The Alamo Bowl takes place in San Antonio, 3 hours from Austin in Central Texas. And he lost by 7 to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like if you played an Oklahoma game in Oklahoma City and we found a way to lose by 7 in a game we were favored in. That's crazy. That's tough, man.
Yeah. Very tough.
You should have 100% of the stadium at that point.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
Truly a shame. Hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
Anybody else on the Texas game?
No.
All right. Let's circle the wagons. Matt, get after it, brother.
Yeah, I'll make it quick because we've got an interview. We've gone through a lot of different topics today, so I will get through this as quick as I can for you guys. So men's wrestling hasn't played a match since December 11th. Obviously took off for the holiday break. They will go back in Edinburgh for the Bobby Kaufman Memorial Open here this weekend. So good luck to OU's men's wrestling. OU's women's
gymnastics. Hold on, like Scotland? Edinburgh, Scotland?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. Sorry.
Dog.
Sorry.
Hey, Mark.
Just confirming.
We're
going to get their kilts and go wrestle.
Which is like,
yeah.
Why would you say that then? Why not say Pennsylvania at that?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're really great at this.
Thank you so much for that, Mark. You're always such a pleasure. OU's women's gymnastics, the current title holders from last year's NCAA tournament, starts their year defending their title, going to Las Vegas against number 5 Auburn, number 4 Michigan, and number 10 UCLA. They'll be looking for their 6th natty in 9 years, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So good luck to the girls this weekend. OU's women's basketball beat Florida 95-79, beat West Virginia 98-77, lost to number 23 Baylor, Sycamore Bears Tyson 81-70, and they will play Iowa State this weekend, who's also a top 11 team. So Big 12 for both sides in the women's and men's sides. Very good this year. Overall record 11-2. Switching over to OU's men's basketball team. Lost a close one to number 6 Texas at home. They were very close, just couldn't hold it out in the end, but it's good to see them play very competitively with these types of teams. They're currently playing number 25 Iowa State. The last time I checked, it was not looking good. So not sure if they've made a comeback or any type of dent into that league, but we'll get some more information on that as well. Overall record 9-4. But again, for both of these teams, the Big 12 conference is pretty good on both sides. So it's going to be a very difficult year for both teams. We'll see how it all plays out, but that is the Circle the WaGanns segment.
At this moment, 7:30 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday night, OU is down by 2 to Iowa State. 10:29 left in the second half.
Yeah, they were down by double-digit points in the first, near the
The
first
Big
half.
12 basketball is a gauntlet.
It really is.
Literally anything can happen.
Yeah.
Like any game.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, let's move on to our MVPs of the week, PGP MVPs of the week. Comment down below with us if you have an MVP of the week you want to give a shout out to, and maybe you can be our commenter of the week next week and not someone who hates Jaron Kanak. So
We'll see. I don't know.
we'll see, man. My PGP MVP of the week is Rafael Devers of the Boston Red Sox. He's a third baseman for the Red Sox. He just got an 11-year, $331 million contract to stay in Boston for the foreseeable future. That's very fun for me as a Red Sox fan, seeing as we just let our franchise shortstop walk to San Diego, and we lost our designated hitter who was making a lot of money and wanted to be in Boston. They're gone. So Rafael Devers, my MVP of the week. He didn't have to stay in Boston. He easily could have hit free agency and made way more money probably, but he chose to stay in Boston because he's a cool dude. I love you, Rafi. That's my PGP MVP.
Yeah, I'll go next. Loser MVP. We've already talked about it, so I'm not going to say anything more. It's USC. Drop the mic. That's it. Moving on.
Okay. Nice. Ryan?
Yeah. So we're bringing back Must Watch later in the off season, but I have to give my MVP to James Cameron, who is the director of Avatar 2. And look at everyone's faces right now. Everyone's just like, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll just see the reaction I just got. Because Avatar 2 just crossed today $1.5 billion globally, which is an insane number.
Has it made back all the money it has to yet?
Well, technically the budget was like 430 million, so yes, but James
Cameron
it had
to make like
James Cameron said it had to make like 2 billion for them to be like, it has to like break even at like 2 billion.
I'm trusting James Cameron over you.
But then I think he changed it to like 1.5 billion or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's gonna
until
make
they're
2
in
billion.
the black. I'm not really.
That's so douchey.
It's going to make 2 billion. So this dude is the guy who created Titanic, Avatar, Aliens. One of the best directors of all time. He's incredible, and people should not count him out. A lot of people said Avatar 2 wasn't going to do anything, and here we are. People are still going to see it. So
people say that. I saw a commercial for it every 30 seconds.
Hey, marketing. Disney knows what it's doing.
Oh, God. Gross. All right, Mark.
Yeah, so my MVP on this 1 year podiversary is the program. We have had so much fun doing this. It doesn't happen without people actually tuning in. I mean, it could, right? We would still be doing it, but it's so much fun that we have a real, following of sorts, right? Y'all are the reason we're able to do this. You're the reason that we're able to get together every week and just talk sports and feel like we're actually accomplishing something. So it means a lot to have everyone, whether you've been with us from episode 1 or this is your episode 1, smash that like, smash that subscribe, stick along for the ride, because we're going to be here, and I hope you are too. MVP, 1 year mark, the program.
Love it. Patrick.
That was a lot to follow up on. I've got Matt Gann,
especially with
our own Matt Gann, who is wearing a suit today for getting us Parker Thune. Thanks, man.
Oh, yeah.
Sick interview.
Oh, yeah. Good job. Good job, Matt.
Go take a listen. Take a listen.
They did. If they're this far in, they listened.
Matt, weren't we supposed to get like a quarterback or something at some point? Was it Spencer Rattler? Was that it? Am I mixing up my rumors?
Yeah. Okay. That's going to do it for this week's episode. We appreciate you for watching and following us. As always, be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter at Program Guys with a Z, our Instagram, Program Guys with a Z, our Facebook page, Program Guys Podcast. However you get your podcast, that's where you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get it. We'll see you next week. We'll be back next week. Thank you for watching. That's going to do it. Pat, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.